live. We're live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So people can watch back if they've not seen this. They can watch back afterwards. But right now, anybody who's watching, we're live on those 3 channels. Just before we jump into our stuff, I usually do a little bit around what EdTech Live is. So if anyone's not watched this before, EdTech Live was born out of a newsletter that I created on LinkedIn. That's all about best practice in EdTech and showcases different EdTech providers, different schools, all that sort of stuff. And that got to about 1,000 subscribers. It's just under 1,000 subscribers in the last 6 to 7 months. And some of those people asked me for content in a different style because not everyone picks it up in the same way. So EdTech Live was born out of that. So it's just a chance for listeners to hopefully learn from us to learn from listeners, and it's designed to showcase leaders in education and EdTech. And I'll let you introduce yourself, Anna, because you're obviously a leader in EdTech. So do you want to tell everybody who's listening a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here, first of all, Chris. It's very nice. Yes, my name is Anna Kraft, and I'm currently based in Stockholm, working out of Sweden. And my background is within digital service design. So I've been working both as a designer and a manager for design solutions, basically technically designing. And I've been working previously at major companies like Vodafone and Samsung with mobile technologies. But I've also been working as a design lead and lately as an MD or CEO for design and development consultancies before I ended up in the EdTech space. So for the last about 7 years, I've been working as a CEO or MD or Chief Experience Officer within EdTech. And currently, I'm the CEO of Lexplore, which is a support service and a reading development service, targeting both the school organization and single schools. And our focus is to help pupils get to become better readers. And we have a innovation from Karolinska Institute as our foundation. It's a screening using eye tracking and AI. So I'm very happy to lead the team around bringing Lexplore to more schools, basically.
Awesome. I usually talk a little bit about how we met, but I did this last week as well. I deliberately left it until after you'd introduced yourself, so I didn't steal any thunder. So Anna and I met through the work with Lexplore. Lexplore's a really cool offer, really great offer for schools around reading development. And myself, Dave and Tom were and still are lucky enough to work with a team in Sweden and help them with their efforts in the UK. And I'm sure we'll touch on what Lexplore is a little bit more. Well, we might do it now because the second question I got to ask you was, I really like the strapline you've got on LinkedIn. And obviously I understand that because we're working together. But the strapline is making the world a better place, one reader at a time.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what that means and the mission?
Yeah, it is our mission at Lexplore. And it's also a very strong mission that we're all very passionate about, and we're very driven. We're very values driven, and it's a very fortunate position to be in, to work with something so meaningful every day. And with this mission, we want to also symbolize that with our screening tool, we aim to basically visualize each pupil's reading ability level. But we also, within Lexplore, we aggregate the data of each pupil's reading ability level on several layers for the school organization, so to present them as insights. So we present also the overall reading ability progression on classroom level, on school level, and also for the whole organization or a municipality, depending on who's the customer. And in this way, we know that our service, if you work systematically with reading development, it does make a difference. And the more pupils that you can get into this program and screening them systematically, the better the progression and the better you know your current state and what you need to do in order to improve depending on each independent pupil's needs. So that's why the mission, I think, spans very nicely, both from the individual perspective, but also the community perspective.
Yeah, it blows my mind sometimes. So it's been a while since I've done this, and we're just in the next custom success cycle, so I'll be doing it shortly. But if anyone wants to learn a bit more about Lexplore, if you head over to our LinkedIn page, so Lexplore Analytics on LinkedIn or Lexplore Analytics UK, I've shared some stories there around the impact that we have in schools, and that's great. But sometimes you see those individual children who, without Lexplore, have really struggled. They've developed coping strategies. They're really struggling. So from individual pupils right up to the organizational mat level, it blows my mind the amount of impact we have. We've got loads of webinars as well. So if you go onto the LinkedIn page, you'll see webinars that we're putting out all the time. So if you want to learn a bit more, you can do it through the webinars or reach out. But if you just want to look through, you will see some of the impact we have. It's crazy. And it's one of the things that drew me to Lexplore, that I can see impact from an individual right through to over the organization. So I mentioned earlier that we work together. So I think I'm well placed to comment on the culture at Lexplore. And I will say it's great. Absolutely love working with you guys. And one of the main reason is the culture. Why is the culture so strong, and why is it so important?
I think culture is really key, and I think also that it needs to work together with building a very strong employee experience. My background is within customer experience, and the longer I worked with it, the stronger is my belief that it's really the people behind that can really make their own experience shine through to bring that to the customer. So if you have a very strong team spirit and you're working together, you're passionate about a joint goal, and the way towards reaching that goal is clear to everyone, it's very inclusive, it's a very transparent work environment, then I think step by step you build a very strong employee experience. You learn together how to best serve and understand your customers. So I think it's very strongly connected to making everyone feel motivated to be on the journey together. And having this joint mission, it creates an energy, and I think that's what builds culture, that you work towards a joint goal, and you strive to reach that, and you then start to co-create both within the team and together with the customers to improve things and iterate things, and together you make the service that we also deliver to the end user better and stronger because of it.
That definitely shines through. So you've recently been at, I think, do you call it SET in Sweden, which is like the best, or some sort of equivalent, and you can see that coexistence, co-creation between Lexplore in Sweden and the customers. They're on your stand, etc. And I'm from a sales background originally, so I'm, at some point in my past, I've been more traditional sales, and now customer experience tips so much into sales as well. And it's definitely been nailed at Lexplore that. And I think some of that is, in fact, most of that is down to the culture. It bleeds into the customer base as well, and they really buy into what you're trying to achieve. So I'll take this question off. I can see there's people watching. I didn't say this at the start. If you've got any questions, if you want to ask a question, you can do. You just put it in the comments on LinkedIn. I think you have to hit enter twice, and then I can see the questions and share them.
Mm.
So feel free to do that if you're watching. I'm going to move on to the next question, though, which is about you as an individual, Anna, I think.
Mm.
So on LinkedIn, I can see that you're a member of the Female EdTech Fellowship, which sounds pretty impressive. It's designed to support the growth of most promising European and female founders in EdTech. How did you become a member?
Well, it's the European EdTech Alliance that is behind this Female EdTech Fellowship, and they look at their member countries. So we are a member of Swedish EdTech industry here in Sweden, and I believe I was very fortunate to be recommended by some people in the Swedish EdTech industry community to the person that was looking for the next cohort of female founders or female CEOs. Yeah, I think that's how I ended up in there. They reached out and asked if I would be interested, and of course I was very interested because
Yeah.
this is a great network to be part of and to be able to learn and share with another 10 women that are also running tech companies and in different countries in Europe and so on. It's a lot to learn and share and grow with together. So
Sounds
very
amazing.
fortunate for this. Yeah.
And if you think of the size of the pool as well, it's pretty impressive to be asked to take on that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Does it help? Does it help you with day-to-day work with Lexplore, or is it just complementary?
No, I think it's very helpful. We have coaching sessions, and we learn also in these sessions. They bring in much more experienced women than ourselves that we get to have Q&As with and hear about their journeys and what they've learned along the way, and that's invaluable to learn from somebody who has taken a journey that you're about to embark on. So you don't have to make hopefully not the same mistakes, and then share best practices, and it's really good help, and it's always helpful to have somebody to reach out to and talk to about your thoughts, also to get out of, when you're in a company, you're very much focused like this sometimes.
Yeah.
So it really helps to get perspective on things and hear from. We're all not working with the same, so we're very much into reading and language development, and then there are the whole range of different educational services within this group. So that's really cool.
It was a daft question. As it came out of my mouth, I realised it was a daft question because I see day in, day out how coaching takes place at Lexplore as well. So even if it's just that, coaching is so invaluable in a workplace, isn't it? Which again contributes to the culture. So I don't engage my brain that often before I speak. I'm pretty raw in that sense. So daft question. If there's anyone out there who's looking to follow in your footsteps, so really impressive career, you've ended up CEO at Lexplore. There's obviously loads of impressive stuff before that. There's the fellowship. If there's anybody watching this who thinks, I'd really like to follow in Anna's footsteps, what advice would you give to them?
I guess I've always been very curious by nature, and I've taken the chances that open up along the way. And I don't think I thought about it then, but looking back, I think that has helped me along. I haven't had any like preset, that I'm gonna end up being a CEO one day. That was really something that I was just asked one day if I wanted to take on the MD role. I knew nothing about leadership or leading a company. I had my cognitive science and design background, but I thought, hey, I'll learn. And I think that's a little bit my approach, to stay curious and be a lifelong learner. You don't never know like what doors are going to open up, and you sort of feel at the moment that this might be the right step to jump onto.
I think
So,
when you know as well, don't you?
Yeah.
If you follow your gut.
Yeah.
We were talking before we started about family related stuff. and I was saying I've got 2 daughters, and I'll not go into the details, but how different they are. And my youngest is really curious, wants to try loads of different stuff. And I can remember them asking her at school what she wanted to be when she was older, and she said a ham sandwich. So she's definitely got the curious bug. Hopefully, she manages to harness it and doesn't turn out to be a ham sandwich. But you never know. Whereas my eldest she was really focused from a young age. She knew she wanted to work in beauty therapy. She knew she wanted to do nails, hair, all that sort of stuff. So I guess if you could merge the two together, that'd be great. The like focus and the creative, curious side. So if we jump back to Lexplore, we've talked through some of this. But what is Lexplore? So we've talked about the screening, we've talked about how it helps children, and we've used the term reading development service. Is there anything else you'd add? And then I can chip in on this as well. But what makes it so special?
I think it's unique in the way that it captures reading as it happens. It captures a person reading out loud a certain text and answering questions if they've understood the text. But it also can capture if you're reading silently to yourself, and then if you've understood what you've read. So it spans from a very early age where you're learning to read to older ages where you maybe use reading more to learn in other subjects. So I think it's unique also that it uses eye tracking as a way to basically determine the reading ability level, and we do that with the AI that we have developed. That is our core, and that this then generates objective insights both about the individual pupil and on the different levels within a school organization. It basically democratizes reading, and the responsibility around reading is possible to share in a new way. I think traditionally there are a few professional roles in a school that sort of owns to drive reading development, but this it makes it more inclusive. Everybody can share the responsibility, and everybody in their different roles can then understand how they're doing in reading progression and analyze the results and see what kind of prerequisites do we need to look into to provide a better learning environment. Can we do something with the resource planning to really put the most needed resources into the right classrooms? It opens up what happens in the teaching situation in each classroom, and in that way, I think it's a really great thing that it makes it that it ensures that every child should have an equal right to learn to read. So I think that's really unique with Lexplore, that it spans so many levels and roles within a school organization, and that it has so many aspects. It becomes almost political when we talk about the reading crisis and how different markets or countries are dealing with that. So it's also a very good service if you're interested in starting to work more data driven and with AI, maybe not the way AI is portrayed or that we talk about generative AI so much, but we also use AI to actually recommend the right reading activities or the right books, depending on which reading ability level a pupil has. So we're trying to connect the insights of reading ability level to also really motivate the students to read more and read on their level.
It definitely helps with motivation and engagement. 100%. I've been in schools and seen assessments carried out, and I think that's probably my favourite thing about Lexplore, where I see children who I consider reluctant readers, but they find the assessment engaging and be, or the screening assessment, whatever we call it, they find it engaging, and they know they're going to be sat in a room for 3 to 5 minutes. So there's a lot less lost learning.
Yeah.
You're not sat doing a test for an hour and 15 minutes or whatever. They're in and out in 3 to 5 minutes. There's less variability. And I really like the notion that for anyone who's not seen it, so eye tracker attaches to the bottom of a monitor. I've just taken it off mine. And you can see what the child sees when they're reading. It blew my mind, like I said earlier, when I first saw it. And I'll happily show anyone who's watching what that looks like. Take me 15 minutes to show you. So reach out. But I like that. I like that those children that sometimes disappear in the background are seen. But I think when I unpick everything, the other thing that's really strong about it is it's a pure reading assessment. And I've seen a pupil, in fact, I've seen 2 now, who the school were blown away that they could answer the comprehension questions built into the screening. They said, never answer comprehension questions right. They were both children with English as an additional language. And the school had not realised they could verbalise an answer, they just couldn't write it. So all the tests they'd done, everything they'd done, they were not doing very well in the tests, but it was because they couldn't write the answer, not because they couldn't read. And even if you've just got 1 or 2 of those in your school, it's worth its weight in gold for those 2 pupils. So yeah, definitely special.
Yeah.
So the other thing about Lexplore is it's successful in a number of countries. Are there any key ingredients to that success?
I think there are probably many ingredients to become successful in international expansions. But I think what is very important into EdTech specifically is that you really understand the way that the school is organized and structured in different markets. It's different. So I think you really have to understand that, and I think we've spent a lot of time on really understanding that and having people that know each market from the inside. And usually they worked within school organizations or in one way or another, and they know how to build relationships with the people that we want to talk to and that we want to understand our service. So I think that's very important, that you don't underestimate knowing what you get into, and that the product market fit might not be identical from your home market on other markets. So I think we've learned that also the hard way, and we've been to places where we thought Lexplore would work, but maybe we had to rethink and come again. So I think it's important to understand the customer's needs and their context and situation in order to meet those needs and maybe behaviors that are not the same as in your home market. And we talked about culture before, and I think it's very important to understand the cultural differences. Some countries are more hierarchical than others, and some are more from bottom up than top down. But I think it's also very important to understand your own company DNA and what you're prepared to compromise on. So I think there are many ingredients, but you have to sort of be on top and analyze them all and then be agile and really see where do you want to maybe adjust a little bit for that market, and where is it important that you stay true to yourself and what we offer.
It's quite scary you said DNA, because I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say the one thing that stands out, and I've spoken to partners in different countries, and what stands out is the core DNA is the same. So the market might be different, the approach might be slightly different, and the mission is never compromised. No. So we mentioned the mission right at the start, but the mission's never compromised. So that's a really healthy balance. So the next questions are all really quick fire. So one thing that you've seen in the time you've worked in EdTech and in schools that's made you go, wow, that's making a real difference. And it can be a piece of software, it can be a service, it can be a school who's implemented something and it's really made a difference.
For me, the most wow and magic thing I think I've seen happen, that is when people in different roles, so it could be, from school director, headmaster, teachers in the language of the market, as well as special pedagogic staff, when they all realize that with these insights that they're given, they get it, that if we work together and we have the same insights and knowledge about the situation, we can actually work together to raise the quality in the teaching for the different students' needs. When that happens among them, and when you have the pleasure to see that, and they speak it, that is magic.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing the impact that you have is great.
Yeah.
One book or podcast that you'd recommend to everyone who's listening? I don't know if you listen to. I don't know if you're a reader. Actually, we've never had this conversation.
Yeah, I'm a reader. I must admit I don't listen to very many podcasts. If it is a podcast, then it's a specific thing I want to listen to. So I'm not following a podcast, but I do want to recommend a book that has been very crucial for our work and building our culture at Lexplore, and that is a book called Radical Focus by Christina Wodtke. And it's been instrumental for us at Lexplore and in getting everyone aligned around a joint mission and joint goal, as well as how to jointly work together to reach that goal. So it's a very hands-on book. It's a very easy read, and it has like a really nice story about a startup that exemplifies this in the beginning. So it's almost like a novel in the beginning. So if you want to get started and work really goal-oriented and building a culture around that at work, or even in your personal life, if you just want to be more structured in reaching important goals, then this is a great asset, and it gives direction, and it gives really hands-on guidance in how to work. And they use objectives and key results as a way of working, as a framework, basically to implement and realize a strategy. So that's my book tip for it.
It's not one I've read or heard of, and I set myself a target at the start of the year to read 25 books this year. That number's now, well, it was up to 32. I think it's up to 33 now. So see where I finish at the end of the year. But I'll add it to the list.
Yes.
And that leaves one last thing. So if there's anyone and there's quite a few people watching this actually, anybody who's watching this who's interested to find out more about yourself and Lexplore, and I'll caveat that with, I'll put some links in the comments around Lexplore in the UK, but Lexplore wider than the UK or the UK. Where can they find you?
I think the easiest is to find me on LinkedIn and connect with me, and I'm happy to start a conversation and talk further about this or networking or in any way that might interest. Yeah.
As always, absolute pleasure. We've run over by about 8 minutes from what we first said, so apologies. Last thing for me to say is, don't forget, if you're watching, to subscribe to Ed and Tech TV on YouTube. The details are there. You'll be able to watch them back. And all that's left to say is thanks everyone who's listening. Appreciate your support. Thanks, Anna, for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'll see you tomorrow, probably.
See you tomorrow.
See you later.